time is now. Let's go.
The top 10 NFL teams according to Colin. Number 10.
I moved the Raiders down after a win. If it wasn't for a bobble, they lose to the Chargers. Listen, they've won 3 of their last 4 games on the road. There's something to them. They beat Kansas City, 13 straight games with 300-plus yards. Derek Carr, top 5 completion percentage. I like them. I think there's a way for them to win. I don't think they're good enough defensively, and I think as we get into Thanksgiving and beyond, defense becomes a much bigger deal. They're a good football team. I think there's a ceiling with them. I've seen them get rolled by Buffalo and Tampa at home, but I like them. I don't love them, but I like them. I thought if not for a bobble, they lose this past weekend. And, it's like Mark Schlereth said, when they do a little bully ball on offense, control it, they can win. But I see some cracks here, and I thought they were a little bit lucky this weekend.
Number 9.
I think the Dolphins would beat the Raiders this morning if they played. I think their head coach is great. They've got 2 defensive touchdowns the last 2 weeks. That leads the NFL. I think they have a better defense than the Raiders. I think similarly they'll be very efficient at quarterback. I think they play as hard as anybody in the league. I mean, from special teams to defense, they got a lot of different ways they can score and beat you. I just like what Miami's doing. And I think if they played the Raiders over the next month, I think they'd give them fits. To go to Arizona and win that game in Tua's second start blew me away. Miami 9.
Number 8.
But I think they would lose to Tampa Bay. Let's not go crazy on Tampa Bay. Tampa would beat Miami because of their experience at quarterback. Tampa's got a reality now. They're really inconsistent, and they're a wild card team. And they're 0-2 against the Saints. That's their reality. Now, their defense has forced the most turnovers in the NFL and is tied for the most interceptions. But even their defense has been inconsistent. On their good days, they can beat anybody, and on their bad days, they're embarrassing. That's why I put them at number 8.
Number 7.
But I think the Seahawks would beat Tampa because despite what I saw in Buffalo, Seattle had won their last 10 East Coast road trips. Here's Seattle's issue. They're bad against mobile quarterbacks, and Brady's not mobile. I think they beat Tampa. First team in NFL history to score and allow 23 points in 9 consecutive games. So their games are all shootouts. The Seahawks don't play a normal game, ever. All their games are whack. All of them. They're all crazy. Their defense has allowed 3 different quarterbacks to throw for 400-plus yards this year. It's all the mobile guys. But I do think with Carlos Dunlap on the defensive line and Jamal Adams, they will get better defensively. I think this game this week was weird. They had 2 big divisional rivals, the Niners and the Rams this week, and it was a sandwich game out east, and they played awful. But I think if they played Tampa, that has a pocket quarterback, they would win.
Number 6.
But I think Buffalo would beat Seattle. How do I know? Because I just watched them. Buffalo's 2 teams. When John Brown is playing and healthy at wide receiver, they are a handful. When he's not, they're not as dangerous offensively. Josh Allen's playing well. They're on a 3-game winning streak. Let's be fair. They've only lost 2 games, Chiefs and Titans. They're good. I like their coach. The quarterback is good when he's got his full arsenal of people. That includes John Brown. Their defense isn't great, but again, I think good coaches elevate what you are. So if you're average defensively, can you be at least situationally okay on defense? I think Buffalo can.
Number 5.
I could put the Saints number 1 after this weekend, so I don't want to overreact, but they are in a 5-game winning streak. I thought their defense finally showed up. They have Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Thomas back. And this is a big Vegas thing. Second best yardage differential in the NFL. So they've outgained their opponents by almost 650 yards. Vegas loves that. Basically, when you go into games, you win the yardage. If you do that over the course of a season, you win 10, 12 games. And right now, they're a number 1 seed. So I don't want to overreact to it, but I love what I saw from their defense. I thought it was like, okay, and let's be honest about it. They've been all beat up at wide receiver for a month, so now they're healthy. It's a different-looking team.
Number 4.
But listen, here's my thing with Green Bay. I know what they are in their good days. I know what they are in their bad days. But they usually have good days. So I think they're going to win 13 games. I think they're going to be the number 1 or 2 seed. I think Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams right now are the most lethal quarterback-wide receiver combo in the league. I love Aaron Jones. There's so much I like about this team. I just don't think they're good in a phone booth. But I think a couple of the teams they don't match up well with are like Baltimore, Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Oh, they're in the AFC. So I think a lot of the teams in the NFC, they do match up with. I think they match up with the Saints fine. I think they match up with Seattle fine. So the teams I don't love how they match up with, the Niners are all beat up, and the other ones are in the AFC.
Number 3.
Ravens. Yeah, it's funny. Everybody's selling the Ravens. I want to read you 2 things. 31 straight games they scored over 20 points. It's the longest streak in the league. And you're all telling me how bad their offense is. And 21 consecutive games they've had a takeaway. That's the longest streak in the NFL. We got to slow down on Baltimore. They give you 27 points a week minimum, and they take the ball away from you. Lamar was 10 for 10 against the Colts in the second half. They're not perfect offensively when throwing the ball, but they're fine. They lost to the Steelers by a play on a turnover-plagued afternoon. I still think Baltimore is one of the 4 best teams, 3 best teams in the league.
Number 2.
Steelers. They drive me nuts, but they have the most sacks, multiple touchdown passes for Big Ben. Everybody's close. They're too emotional for me. But I will say this. Just got a bunch of good players. They draft them well. They develop them. I've been critical of Mike Tomlin before. Sunday's why. That's why I stayed away from that bet. Oh, everybody's like, you got to take the Steelers. No way am I taking the Steelers as a 2-touchdown favorite. But I will say this. There's only one great team in this league. Everybody else we can argue over. You're 8-0. I'll put you at 2.
Number 1.
I think they're their own category. Head coach, A+. Quarterback, A+. Weapons, A+. Defense, A-. Kansas City. There's nothing not to like. They play well from behind. They play well with a lead. They had a little bit of a hiccup in a shootout to the Raiders. I really like what they're doing with Mahomes. The average NFL quarterback throws 35 times a game. He's now throwing 30. So they're building a running game. They're protecting him. There's just nothing I don't like about them. That is, it's funny. The last 20 years we had a dynasty that was efficient but kind of boring. They're the opposite. They can be efficient, but they're big play. I don't see a weakness. Once they start playing defense, injuries, that's it. Cheetah gets hurt. Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. Travis Kelce, it's a problem. Right now, best team in the league. And then there's 9 other good teams that probably on their best day couldn't beat them. There you go. Joy, any arguments?
I think I would move the Saints up on Green Bay just because
I thought about that.
I don't like Green Bay's run defense at all.
No, I mean, that's totally fair. I didn't want to overreact to Sunday.
Yeah, no. It's understandable. But I like it.
By the way,
that's the only switch I would make.
Did the Packers beat the Saints? Yeah, they didn't they? I didn't even count for that.
But that's not what we're doing. That's not how the hierarchy works.
That's not. I mean, listen, Buffalo. I put them 1 spot ahead of Seattle. It wasn't just the game. It's that Seattle is too dependent
on Russell Wilson.
Whereas I felt like Buffalo had other options beyond Josh Allen. So there you go. I feel.
I like seeing the Dolphins up there.
Today, Dolphins play Raiders. I take the Dolphins. We're getting in. We're November now. It's November. Defense matters.
Yes.
Keep your eye. This will become a big thing. Health. Like, for instance, Seattle is 7. Let's be honest about it. If Seattle's running backs are healthy, if Chris Carson is healthy.
That's a big if with them.
I know, it's a big if. But if they are, I could put Seattle in the top 3 or 4 and feel great about. When Seattle goes into a game and they're all banged up at running back, which is sort of like every week, I don't like them as much because they become totally dependent on Russell Wilson.
I do agree with your point about Green Bay, though, because they don't match up well with physical teams.
But they're all out east. They're all in the AFC.
Yeah, they're all in the AFC now.
And it used to be San Francisco. Okay, they're not a factor. So all the teams that are roadblocks for Green Bay are either in the AFC or like
that are going to be in the playoffs. Yeah.
Right. But I don't think LA Rams is a bad matchup.
Like
I don't
Green Bay Seattle play right now. You're taking Green Bay.
It depends on if Seattle's running backs are healthy. Seattle. They're not. I take Green Bay. Can Seattle, when their running backs are healthy, they're a physical team. When they're not, they become a finesse team. It's like Russell run. They become Arizona. Seattle is Arizona when the running backs aren't healthy. And Arizona's not going to beat Green Bay in a shootout.
Right.
But when Seattle's running backs are healthy, they're a little more like Baltimore.
Well, I mean, that's also the weakness of Green Bay.
Yeah.
So.
All right, a lot of things. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a Jet. Sam Darnold, they're moving off him. Thoughts about that? Albert Breer coming up next as well. With social distancing rules still in effect, in fact, I just saw yesterday,